Everybody, happy Monday. I'm super excited to be here with you today as we start sewing up our A Walk in the Woods quilt. My name is Bev McCullough. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm streaming live here on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're just going to have so much fun sewing up this quilt, you guys. This is the quilt that's behind me, though if you watched last week, you realized this is a little bit smaller version of the quilt. It's shrunk down because I needed to do that for market last year. So our quilts are going to be a little bit bigger, but they'll be this design, and we are just getting ready today to kick off our sewing. So this is going to be so fun, you guys. And I saw a couple of people just couldn't wait and posted photos of their center blocks. I love that. Please don't feel like you have to stay right with us if you don't want to. And if you just get super excited and want to go ahead and share early, please do so. It's so fun. We love seeing all that. And we can't wait to see your blocks this week as you sew them up. So we are going to be working on the center square of our block, which I'll lean away a little bit. This is that churn dash here in the middle with the star in the center. So that's what we're going to be sewing up today. And a lot of the methods that we use today, as far as the half square triangles and the stitch and flip blocks, will be carried through the whole quilt. So this will get you a good foundation for making this whole quilt. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be so fun. So I want to say hi to see who's here, and then we're going to just dive right in because we have a lot of sewing to do today, you guys. All right, let's see who's here. Let's see. We have over on Facebook, we have Rhonda. Rhonda can't decide if she's watching on YouTube or Facebook. Choices are good, right, Rhonda? What'd you decide? Are you on Facebook? And Dawn's here. And Allison's here from windy Arizona. Oh, that's nice. It's gorgeous in Tennessee here, you guys, today. It's beautiful. We're supposed to get big storms tomorrow, which, you know, okay, whatever. It's spring, so I suppose we need those, but it's really nice today. I think we're going to be like 72 or something like that. So pretty good for that first week of spring, right? Oh, hey, Teresa. Shirley likes my sweater. Thanks, Shirley. I love it too. It's one of my favorites. Anne's here. Hi, Anne. And Pam's here from South Carolina. Welcome. And over on YouTube, we have Jane's here. She's glad to be here from live. I'm glad you're here too, Jane. And Val's here. It's sunny in Tucson. Oh, and you had rain. Wow. That's amazing. Leslie's here. Laura's here. Tracy's here. Rhonda switched back to YouTube. Pam and Mary Beth and Christine are here. Yay, I'm so glad. 60 degrees in Minnesota, Jane. My goodness, that sounds wonderful. Is that rare for this time of year? Feels rare. I'm pretty happy with our 70s here. I could be okay with no more freezing. They're warning us to not plant anything yet, and really, I don't have anything to plant yet. Though I am starting to plot where I'm going to bulbs. So if you're not where we're building a house, it's somewhere in the middle of the build process. If you've ever built a house, you know you're kind of just like, all right, well, it's done when it's done, I guess. But I'm already starting to think through like where I want bulbs to come up next year. And I know I don't plant those until the fall. Is that right? So I haven't done any planting over there yet, but I'm starting to kind of think through where I want plants and trees and things like that. The property is just, it was farmed. So there's trees at the very back, and then there's like one tree by the road, and that's it. So we have quite a bit of planting to do, trees that grow fast, I feel like. Because I would like to be around to actually see them be more than just sticks. So I don't know what's involved with that, but that will happen soon here. I'm excited to start planting things. So it's really fun to plan and think about those things. So, all right. I hope you guys had a fun weekend. I am super excited to be sewing this with you. So today we are sewing up the first center block in the Walk in the Woods sew along, and that is this block right here. It's kind of big. Let's see if I'll scooch back here so you can see it. It's kind of a big center block, which is really fun. So there's a star in the center, and then there's a ginormous churn dash around it. And you can kind of pick and choose how you want to do. You don't have to do, if you're sewing with Enchanted Meadow fabrics, you don't have to do yours exactly like mine. Just know that if you're using, like, say, a different blue for the corners of the turn dash, then you'll probably need to pick a different blue than I have in other places. So should have enough fabric to do that with. Just, keep that in mind as you're sewing. And then there's these cute little green corners that actually sort of look like they're overlapping with the blocks that go around this next section. So it's kind of a fun little, I don't know, hidden thing that's happening there. So that's what we're going to sew together today as quickly as we can. I know you guys don't want to be here with me until like next Tuesday, though it would be fun if we had like a retreat some weekend, wouldn't it, where we just sewed all weekend together? Maybe we'll consider that. So before we do that, though, I want to talk through some of the other things going on. So I'm sewing along with the RBD Block Challenge, which is Riley Blake's free mystery quilt along that they've hosted. This is the 3rd year that they've done this. So it's a free mystery quilt, which means that you don't know the blocks until they're released, and you don't know the overall layout until it's released. And you can, of course, make your blocks any way you want, and you can put them in whatever final finishing that you want. But I think you guys are going to really love the finishing layout. It's very cool, very different. So this is last week's block. They're released on Tuesdays, and we have another one coming out tomorrow. But this is the Lynx block from Amanda Niederhauser. It's a really cool block, and of course, you guys know Amanda loves cats. So this one has a little bit of a cat, maybe 4 little kitties with their ears on each corner feel to it. So this is Amanda's block, and it's really fun to sew together. It's one of those blocks that looks complicated, but then when you read the instructions, you're like, oh, this isn't bad at all. So the free pattern to this is on the blog, and I've linked to all of my RBD block challenges. I just have one main link to all of them in today's video description, so you can check that out if you want to do that. And even if you're not sewing along, these are all 10-inch blocks. They're just a great resource to have. So you might consider, even if you don't have time to make them now, downloading the free block patterns, because you never know if you're going to need a block for, maybe you're doing another quilt that you don't like the block of, or maybe you're, want to make a block for the back of your quilt just as kind of a star in the center, or you want to put a label with a quilt block or something like that. It's always nice to have a resource of blocks, that even if they're just random. So just keep that in mind, that the patterns are all free and you can check those out. And there's videos this time as well. So there are video tutorials that they're doing for all of these too. So it makes it really fun and easy to follow along with. So that's my RBD block challenge for last week. It's really cute, and I'm looking forward to showing you guys next week. We get the blocks a little bit before you guys, because but even we don't have them all. So we just got the next 4 blocks, and I'm excited for you guys to see them. They're really fun. Not that the others aren't. The others that have gone before haven't. They look so cool when you're all together, really sampler-ish. And I think you're going to have a really good time sewing these next 4 blocks. So that is happening. And then also, because I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me on Mondays and sewing along with me, we do giveaways every week in our videos. And they're really easy to enter. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is leave a comment on the video. And you can do that on Facebook or YouTube. I feel like you guys could say this along with me by now. And you could do it whether you're watching live or anytime during the week before the next week's video. So all you have to do is leave a comment, and that's open internationally as well. So feel free to join in and comment if you're watching overseas. So last week's giveaway was a fun one. I have for you guys a 10-inch stacker of Enchanted Meadow, which is the fabrics that I'm sewing with right now. This is such a fun collection. It's sort of a woodland collection. There's little woodland animals and different things like that, but it's not super wooded, and it's a really fun palette. So I think that you guys will love it. And I have a pattern to go with. This is my String of Pearls quilt pattern, and it is designed for 10-inch stackers, so you'll just need a little bit of yardage for the sashing and background and your border, and so you can make this one up really fun. And this quilt has, let's see if I can get a little closer, it has scalloped borders, but it looks great without scalped borders too, if that isn't your jam. I just love the vintage feel to it. And then I have for you a package of my cat head pins. These are super cute and fun. They're little aqua cat heads. You guys know I love cats. So this is all made up this week's giveaway, well, last week's giveaway. And the winner from last week, who left a comment on Facebook, is Lisa Blundell. So Lisa, you're our winner. Congrats. And if you are watching, I don't know, I haven't seen Lisa's name. I don't know if Lisa's watching, but if you're watching, Lisa, send me an email, bev@flamingotoes.com, and send me your mailing address, and I will get this out in the mail to you this week. So yay for that. I don't want that to fall. Okay, so I have something fun for you guys that I haven't done before, but I bought a few of these, so they're going to pop up in giveaways over the next, I don't know, while. So, first of all, I have for you a 10-inch stacker of Notting Hill. This is Amy Smart's last collection, and it's one of my favorites ever of hers. It's gorgeous, you guys. I made a quilt last year. Was that last year that we did the Vintage Stars sew-along? So I made up mine in Notting Hill, and you can use a 10-inch stacker with that pattern, that my Vintage Stars pattern. So keep that in mind, but this is just a gorgeous collection. It's got really pretty florals. It's got some gorgeous like watercolor drawings of London, and then it's got really cute like dots and plaids. There's even a tiny like British flag print, which is amazing, you guys. So a 10-inch stacker of Notting Hill, and then look how fun this is. This is one of Lori Holt's, whoa, it's heavy. Well, Lori Holt's new puzzles. Do you guys love puzzles? I really do. So this is a 1,000-piece puzzle. It's 20 by 27. So it's really cute. Like, how fun would this be? Just to put together in the afternoons, or to take to a retreat and everybody work on. Or if you made it and then wanted to show it off, like they have that puzzle glue now, so you could put it up in your sewing room. Look at the design on that. Isn't that so cute with the quilt blocks and all the little sewing things? I love the little hexies too. And there's embroidery floss and stitching. It's so, so cute. So this comes with the Notting Hill. This is going to be a big box for our winner. I'll have to make sure our box is big enough for this. So this is this week's prize. So if you want to enter, just leave a comment on today's post, on today's video, and that will count as your entry. So that's really fun. Oh. Okay, that almost fell down. Okay, are you guys ready to get sewing? Let's make sure that I haven't missed any comments. Oh, yeah, Dawn loves Notting Hill. Me too, Dawn. It's so pretty. Oh, I'm glad you guys like puzzles. Wendy likes puzzles. Yay. All right. Yay, Leanne. Oh, Pam says she would love a retreat with me leading. Okay, we'll just have to figure it out sometime, because that would be so fun, just to sew all weekend together. Wouldn't that just be the best? Oh, I'm so glad Sharon likes the puzzle too. Yay! Oh, it's so cute. Oh, Jane's using Enchanted Meadow in the RBD block challenge. Oh, that's awesome, Jane. I want to see your blocks. That's really cool. Yay. Okay. Are you guys ready to sew? We're going to just dive in here. So this is kind of assembled in sections. What we're going to start with first is this star in the center, and then we're going to work our way around. So you're going to need the pattern. With my sew-alongs, I do give tips every week in the videos, but you do need the pattern for the measurements and things like that. Now, you also don't have to sew with Enchanted Meadow. I would love for you to, but I totally get it. If you have if you're wanting to use something from your stash, or you have a fabric collection that you feel like would just be perfect for this quilt, please don't feel like you have to sew with Enchanted Meadow if you would like to do something different. So we just want you to join us regardless of what you're sewing with. Okay, so you do need the pattern, but then I'm going to have some tips and stuff like that, and just kind of walk you through how I assemble this block. So I'm going to switch cameras here real quick so that you can see my tabletop, and then we're just going to get sewing. Gotta get this ready here. You like my little, this is my little camera stand. We're super high tech here in Flamingo Toes land. We're using canisters. Okay, here we go. You guys ready to sew? All right. I'm going to do my best to keep what I'm working with. Sometimes I get all caught up in what we're doing and I don't move the camera. So if I need to move the camera, please let me know. Okay, so we are going to start with this little stitch and flip block that makes up the sides of our star. Okay, so what we are making is this piece right here. So this is, we're going to use, it's a flying geese block, but we're going to use a stitch and flip method to do this. So what you're going to want to do is draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of your 2 print squares. Well, you'll have 8 total, but we're going to use 2 to make each side of this. So I don't do that because my machine has a laser that's right here. Can you guys see the laser? There you go. Now you can see the laser. So I am not going to do that, but if you don't have a magic laser, then you're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner, just like you do if you're doing half square triangles. And you're going to place it, well, I'll just show you because I don't want it to be confusing. We are going to draw our diagonal line, and we want the line to be angled just like this. So we want that angle. Well, now you can't see. We want that line to go from up here down to here. So we're going to just sew straight on that line, not like with a half square triangle where you're sewing on, you know, a 1/4 inch away on either side of the line. We are sewing actually on the line. And I just need to find my foot pedal here. Okay. And, okay, wait. We have a little issue. One sec. I'm just getting a little caught there. Of course. Okay, now we're rocking and rolling. Okay, so I'm sewing on the marked line. And I've sewn, now I have little threads, but I have sewn on that marked line on the diagonal there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to trim away. We're going to put, so on my little Creative Grids ruler here, this line is a 1/4 inch away from the edge of my ruler, and so I've placed that on the seam. It helps if you have a ruler that has this. I have a couple other rulers that don't have this line all the way around, and it does make it a little bit easier for placement. So I'm going to cut that off. Apparently it's time for a new blade too. And now I'm going to press this open just like this. So I'm going to do that real quick. I have my iron over here. And now we've got this, there we go. Now we've got this pressed, and we're going to do the exact same thing that I just did, but our line on this side is going to go the opposite direction. So the line on this side of the block goes this way. Okay, so I'm going to sew there, and again, I don't have to put that on there because I've got my little laser here. So I'm just lining my laser up with those corners so I can just follow that. You can also find there's some tutorials out there for cool little how to do your own lasers with laser, like those laser flashlights. You can kind of fix them to your screen or the front of your machine. They're kind of cool. So I'm trimming that off just like I did the other side. So we're doing the exact same thing on both sides of this block, but we're just doing them reversed to give that block the that flying geese look. So now I'm going to press again. Okay, so now I've got my little cute flying geese block, and you're going to make 4 of those, which through the magic of television I have already done. So now we're going to piece together the center star of our block. I need more space. Just scoochy this so you guys can see. So we're going to, so I like to lay out the block in the way that it's going to go so that I make sure that I don't have any pieces flipped weirdly or anything like that. And then we're going to place, so these are all labeled with letters. If you guys have alphabet-y labels, these come in handy here. I haven't brought mine over for today yet, but I am placing the G pieces in each corner that you've cut. This is background. And so we're basically doing a 9 patch. It's not even, like the blocks aren't all the same size, but it's still a 9 patch. We have 9 squares here together that we are going to sew up, and this is the center portion of that block. So I like to do these in kind of a fold and take them in a chain piecing sort of method. So I'm taking my first 2 together. I did these 2 I grabbed, and I'm just sewing these together, and then without clipping my threads, I'm going to pick up my next 2 pieces, flip them right sides together, and sew them together. And we're going to just continue on down this star, sewing all the pieces together. So this is the last row. We're going to do the exact same thing, placing them right sides together. And for this part, I don't really use pins. The pieces are going to stay together well enough that you don't have to worry too much about that. I do like to keep them on hand when I'm sewing together sections of the star that I'm trying to match up seams. That's when I tend to want to try and use pins. So now I've got this basically first column of seams sewn, and I'm opening this back up, and now I'm going to repeat this step with this side, with the remaining blocks. So I'm kind of taking this way and sewing them together, and we're just going to do the exact same thing we did before, is just kind of making sure I'm not flipped here, picking these pieces up. So if you put your block together on your work surface and then you pick it up and sew it together like this, and you leave these chain piece threads between them, as long as your block was put together on your table laid out correctly, it's a little bit easier to keep track, and you're less likely to flip blocks if you keep them chain pieced together, because those little chain threads are holding them all together. And I don't know about you, but it's so easy to flip blocks that I'm willing to do and happy to do almost anything to keep that from happening and having to seam rip that apart. So you can see I've got the 3 rows of my block sewn together and held together by these little chain threads. You can see that I can't pull it apart. So I am going to press these, and the pressing instructions are in the pattern, so you can check those out. I'm just going to turn away here. I'm at an awkward angle, so this is really not ideal. I need to figure out how to do this a little bit better next time. Okay, so while I'm pressing, has anybody started their blocks? I saw a couple people share, which is very exciting. And I saw a lot of you sharing your fabric photos and your pattern photos if you're waiting for fabric. So if you didn't catch last week's video, we are doing a really fabulous giveaway with Lady Belle Fabric. Brooke and I are partnering together, and so she is offering 20% off for anybody that is sewing along and wants to do their long arming at the end of once you have your quilt top all done. And so it's 20% off long arming, and we're doing a big giveaway on any, so if you are sewing along with this pattern, we're going to have a giveaway at the end for people that have shared photos of their progress each week and use the hashtag. We're going to draw one of those, and some person will win your quilt being long armed for you. So how amazing is that? So exciting. So make sure that you are sharing your photos as you go. So once you finish up your block, make sure you share that. If you don't have your fabric yet, share the pattern, just whatever you would like to do to kind of get in there. And it doesn't have to be from this week. So like if you're just diving in this week and you just found out about this sew along, feel free to share a photo of the fabric that you're doing or something. So it doesn't have to be the week that we're on. If the, just share wherever you're at. So it's a really fun giveaway. Okay, so I'm going to flip these over to sew this block together. And here's where I like to use a pin. I've pressed my seams opposite each other, but I do want to make sure that those seams line up. So I'm just going to pin those two seam parts just so that my seams line up as best they can. And so now I'm going to start sewing the rows together. And we're going to unthread the needle. So that's fun. One sec here while I rethread the machine. This is always fun. The beauty of live sewing. You guys are always so patient with my little delays and mistakes and all the things. All right, now we're rocking and rolling. Okay. So I'm sewing along this, I'm sewing basically the top row to the center row. And having this laser really is nice, especially when you're trying to sew and not lose any of your points, because it helps you see exactly where that seam is going to go. And you can tell if you're getting a little too close or you've gone over where your points come together, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Stephanie said she wondered about adding a laser. Does anybody know if that would work? And Dawn says she's worried about the cat. He likes to sit on her machine when she sews. My goodness, I would love that. I'd love to have a little kitty. Okay, so I've sewn the first two rows together, and now we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom. We're going to flip up this bottom row and kind of nest those seams together with our fingers, and I'm just going to pin that in place, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Let's see. Oh, Jane uses the folded corners ruler. That's great, Jane. I've heard that one. I have not actually used that one myself, but I've heard it's super helpful. Lisa says she has the laser light and she loves it, especially for smaller blocks. Yes. When you're getting into bigger blocks, it's not as helpful because the laser only goes so far. But on smaller blocks, like the ones we're doing here in this little star, it is very, very helpful. So I have a Baby Lock Crescendo, but I know that there are several Baby Locks that do have the laser. And if that's something that you're interested in, you can always email me and I'm happy to kind of point you in a direction as far as a Baby Lock. I have a partnership with them and I am very, very much in love with their machines. Okay, so now I have sewn together all of my rows of my little cute star, and I'm going to go ahead and press those real quick, and then we are going to go on to our next section. And I would press this a little bit more carefully if I wasn't trying to do on a live video. But I don't want to normally I take quite a bit of time with pressing and make sure everything's really nice and flat. But we're scurrying through here because we've got so much to get through today. So now I've got my star, which is mostly pressed-ish. And so we're going to go on to the next section, and we're going to make half square triangles. And these are nice big half square triangles, so they're really fun and easy to put together. So you're going to take the D print piece and the I background piece, and you're going to layer them right sides together. Well, you're going to have the right side up on your print fabric. Most solids don't have a right and a wrong side because they're dyed, not printed, so they're reversible basically. So I'm just going to kind of move this. I don't have a big ruler, but I'm drawing my diagonal line. You're going to be making two sets of these. Each of your half square triangles will make two triangles that are sewn together. So I have drawn a diagonal line on my background fabric from corner to corner, and on this one, because we are making half square triangles, I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on either side of that marked line. So we're just going to stitch down that marked line, and I like to do a scant 1/4 inch seam when I'm doing that. And all that really means is your presser foot is about a thread length overlapping that marked line, and that gives you just the tiniest bit more of a trimming on the other side, on the raw side, not the seam side, because it gives you just a little bit more to trim off so that your block is nice and straight and tidy when you're getting ready to sew. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I have sewn a seam on, let me get up here so you can actually see it. There, you can see the marked line. It's kind of faint. I'll get a darker marker for next week. And you can see that I sewed a 1/4 inch on either side of that line. So now what I'm going to do is cut down the marked line, and that will give me my 2 half square triangles. It's actually warm in my sewing room today, guys. I think I'm gonna actually need to turn the air conditioning on next week. So crazy. That's March for you though. So now when you open those up, you can see that you have really lovely half square triangles. So I'm going to press these real quick, and then we're going to trim. I like to trim up my half square triangles. I know that there are a lot of tutorials out there where you don't have to trim, and believe me, I get not wanting to do that. It is time. It adds time to your sewing. Especially when you're doing a lot of them. And I know when we start assembling these churn dash borders, these churn dash sections in the quilt, you're going to be just maybe not cursing at me, but but not thrilled with how many half square triangles we're going to be making. But keep in mind, it's so worth it by how great these are. So it is worth it to do it because it makes your blocks nice and straight, especially because we're sewing diagonal seams that are kind of with the bias, and that means they do stretch a little bit. I don't want to stretch these out too much, but trimming up your blocks makes them straight and makes your assembly so much more accurate. I do like to cheat on my time a little bit and trim up 2 of these at once. And the way I do that is I lay one down on my little cutting mat here. That's so cute. And then I flip the other one so that it's reversed. So obviously blue on this side, blue on this side. And what I do is I line up those seams just like I would if I was sewing them together. So you know how to do that with your fingers, right? You kind of just press at it until the seams are nested. So I've nested these 2 seams together as close as I can get them. And then I line up my ruler so that the diagonal, again, this is a Creative Grids. It's the, what is this one? The 6.5 inch ruler, and you can use any size ruler you want for your trimming, but it does help to have a ruler that's just a little bit bigger than the blocks. It makes it really easy to use and makes your trimming so that you're not trying to deal with like a big bulky ruler. But what I'm doing is I'm lining up my ruler so that this diagonal line on my ruler lines up with the center of my seam. And then I'm making sure, because I'm trimming these to 5.5 inches, I am making sure that I have 5.5 inches all the way around. And we're cutting it just really close on this side right here, but we should be fine. So I'm going to trim 2 sides at once. Make sure that if you do this, you keep your fingers back from this edge. Don't put your hand like this and then trim that second side. Ask me how I know that. So make sure your hand is back, and I'm kind of at an awkward angle here with the sewing machine, and that you are out of the way of your rotary cutter. I don't want anybody cutting their fingers off because they were trying to save time. Okay, So I definitely need to change out my rotary cutter blade, you guys. This is not ideal. It took me like 18 cuts here. Part of it is that I'm at a weird angle. So now I've trimmed these two sides, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. This cute little ruler mat flips around like this. And now I'm going to line up my line with my seam, but I'm also going to line up my rulers because I've trimmed these first sides. Now my ruler should line up 5.5 with the 5.5 on this side and the 5.5 on that side. And so now I'm going to trim off the rest of my blocks here. And that was better. Okay. So now I have two lovely little half square triangles that are both 5.5 by 5.5, and I only trim them, you know, you can trim them in half the time because you are doing them two at once. So just practice that if you haven't ever done it before. It can be a little bit tricky lining them up, so you might want to get some scrap fabric before you place them, you know, and try them so that, you know, you can adjust where that seam, how those are nested together before you trim, and just see if it's something that you like and might save you a little bit of time. Oh, Pam, she says her block is done. Yay, Pam! And Anne's waiting on for her fabric to come in the mail. Yay, I'm so glad. And Christine's got all her pieces cut ready to sew. Yay! Let's see. Pam said not sure where to go once you get to her website. I missed what that is, Pam. Are you talking about my website? Just want to make sure. Pam, if you had a question that I missed earlier, let me know again what that is. Sorry about that. Pam over on YouTube. Okay, so now that we have these all done, now we are going to just do our little corners, and these are going to be my bottom corners of my churn dash. So we're going to sew, I've already done the top corners here. Oh, this goes like this. So these are our little churn dash pieces here, which you guys can't see, and I've already sewn the corners on the top, so I'm going to sew those onto the bottom now. And what we do with that is just the same method of the stitch and flip. And because I am using directional fabric here, I like to just do a quick double check on this before I've sewn it to see if it's correctly aligned. Now this one isn't, so I'm just going to keep turning my block until it's the right side up. So now I can see, okay, I've turned it, this is the way my block will go, and my deer is right side up. So now I can relax that, and I know I'm sewing on this diagonal line. So if I'm doing any kind of work with a directional fabric, I like to just double check my layout to make sure that if I want it to be directional once it's done, and I always like to try and do that, that it's angled the right direction. And again, I just sewed because I have my laser, but you would draw your diagonal line going, you know, that way against the corner. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and I don't really have any little pictures on this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew on that one. This one's just ending up being florals. So these cross like this. And then we're going to trim those off, and you can trim these two at a time as well, so they don't nest like the half square triangles do. But if you have your little ruler and you line up your seam with whatever you're doing and you line up the next one on top of it, I don't recommend doing a ton of these at once because it is harder to cut through. Right now we're cutting through 4 layers of fabric, but you can do 2 of these at once just to save yourself a little bit of time. And that takes care of those. Now we're done with all of our trimming for this block, so that can go away. So now I'm going to press these, and then we're going to get onto, so these make up the corners of our churn dash blocks. And now we're going to work on our sides real quick. And look how cute this little deer is. Didn't you see him? Isn't he darling? He's so cute. Okay, so now we have the center star, we have the churn dash corners, and all we need to do is assemble our side pieces. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the C and H pieces, you're going to lay them, these are the sides of our churn dash, and you're going to place these right sides together and sew down one long side. And you can chain piece these as well. I already have my others done, so I'm not going to do that, but definitely chain piece as much as you can. It does save you a little bit of time and a little bit of thread, and that makes it worth it. So I'm just going to sew down this long edge, and then I will press. And I'm, for the most part in this block, pressing towards the print fabric, but definitely check the pattern for pressing tips when it comes to especially things like the stars and things like that. Okay, so now I've got that pressed. So then all it takes is laying out your block again, and I can't really show you this entire thing, but I'm going to try and lay it out so that you can see. You're going to lay it out just like the pattern shows. I'm just going to lay out like a side of this so you can see. You're going to put your churn dashes here so that the print is in towards the star, and then you're going to do your corners like this. So basically we have made again another 9 patch block because of how we've sewn this together. This is one piece, this is one piece, this is one piece, this is one piece. So we're sewing together 9 pieces of fabric, and we're going to do it just like we did with this little star in the center. We're going to sew the top row together, and then we'll sew these to the middle part, and then we will sew the rows together. So just exactly like we did with the star. And then you will have your center star block put together. And I'm not gonna, that'll take a while to do, so I'm not gonna do that. But I'm gonna flip back to the other camera and show you again really quick how that looks. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that out of the way here. Okay, so this is the exact same thing that I had here. But you can see these are the corner blocks that we did right here, and they go in each corner, and you want those green pieces in each corner, and then the points of the half square triangle point in to make the churn dash, and then the print fabrics go towards your star on each side. So you'll sew, you know, this row together, this row together, this row together, and then your rows together. Okay, so if you guys, I'm not going to walk through that whole thing, but you guys can see how to assemble, and if you have any specific questions about that, let me know. This is pretty good size. This is, I think, the biggest portion. The rest will be done more in sections and rows. So next week we'll be making more star blocks that look kind of like our little pink star block. And then we will be making the half square triangles that give that pattern the flower basket sort of block. So I'm going to lean a little bit here. So next week we're going to do these stars that go around the churn dash and the little flower basket. So you can see it sort of makes a flower basket quilt with the corners of the block that we just added on. So it kind of is a cool effect that we're kind of combining the big blocks and the little box. So next week will be stars and the little pattern flower basket block. And really, you've already learned everything. I mean, I'm still going to have a video and we're still going to walk you through it. But it's half square triangles and stitch and flip blocks. So if you can do this week's block, you can definitely do next week's block. So this is a fun one. Even if you're a beginner, I hope that you're not nervous to sew along with us, because we really want to walk you through this and have fun with this one. And I think anybody could make this quilt. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of encouragement. So I'm going to check and see if we have any questions. Cindy said, is there a way to do the quilt in the smaller size like the one behind you? It is smaller by half or what? So this one is actually digitally printed. It's not sewn. So I didn't figure the measurements for that quilt. So no, I'm sorry, Cindy. I don't have instructions for how to make it. That one is about, it's not half. It's like, this one is about 55 inches and the one we're making is 72 inches. So a little less than 20 inches. So it's not, it's maybe 20% smaller. So I'm sorry, I don't have that information for you. Okay, let's see. Oh, you get, Teresa said it's really great. Thank you so much. Well, no worries, Jane. There's no time, there's no time limit on these. Okay, so that's all for this week. Don't forget to enter this week's giveaway if you want to win the 10-inch stacker of Notting Hill and the Lori Holt puzzle. That's the sewing room puzzle. Super fun, super quick. Don't forget to share your progress, even if you're just showing your, your pieces cut out, whatever you want to share photos of as you go. Use the hashtag Walk in the Woods SAL, and I put the hashtag in today's video description so you could find that. If you're on Instagram, please tag me too at Flamingo Toes, because I want to reshare your progress so that everybody else can see it too. So I will try and do that as much as I can. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you have a really beautiful week. Hopefully you're getting some nice spring weather and you have a lot of fun. And I will see you next week for more sewing on this quilt. Week 2 next week. All right, you guys have a really great week. Thanks so much.